Eyes. What that hole? What kind of holes are old holes? Maestro. All right, we do always rise and give honor to the Most High, y'all, His Son, Yeshua, the true Messiah. Always to all of y'all divine preachers in every place, preaching, teaching, living y'all's divine word. Always to beloved minister that labor this part of in y'all, whom I'm not ashamed to call brethren, Kodesh, greeting to them in their respective places. Where we at now? Who else? Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Man. No. We ain't got that for you, have we? No. All them scattered abroad. Amen. To the Jews first and also to the Gentiles, Kodesh, greeting in their respective places. As we ought to say last, never least, to the way of Yah synagogue. Proper honor y'all in your respective places. Once again, for TV, internet, radio, wherever our voice can be heard, wherever we can be seen. Before we came on, had nothing come on. When we go off, absolutely ain't nothing else coming on. They're not teaching Kodesh, living a clean, sanctified life. That people ain't in nothing, and they hadn't heard nothing. This is an attempt to collect the debt. Whatever you hypocrite, false pretend, backbite, mumbling, grumble against will be used in that collection of a debt. These messages are always being recorded for quality assurance to make sure no side doesn't get cut with nobody, but everybody got to come in, brother. Red, straight, narrow path. All right, thank the Lord. Give me Romans 10 and 1 right quick. Talk about y'all a little bit here. Thank the Lord. Tell them I'm a true Jew. Who are they trying to do? I heard somebody humming. Oh, Antoine. As long as it wasn't Curtis. Thank the Lord. Listen. Romans chapter 10 and verse 1. Listen to the book.
Brethren,
my heart,
desire and prayer to God for Israel is
that they might
be saved.
For I bear them record
that they have a zeal of God,
but not
according to knowledge.
Yeah.
For they being ignorant of God's righteousness,
and gone about
to establish their own righteousness,
and have did what?
Have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God.
Listen.
For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth.
That's what we're looking at for us today. So now this is the thing we got to consider. What Paul began to tell us. Let's start over again. 10 and 1. Brethren,
my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is
that they might
be saved.
For
I bear them record that they have a zeal of God.
What did we talk about a zeal was, brother? It could be an enthusiasm. A zeal, it could be a seal, but most of all we're looking at an enthusiasm. And the reason why Paul would have recognized the enthusiasm they would have had is simply because they had the law. We would recognize that by Paul's speech on what he just told us as he continued down. When he was saying his heart, desire, and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. He said they have an enthusiasm, but it's just not according to, what was it again?
But not according to
knowledge. So we can have the law and not have knowledge, not concerning who the Son is. Hold what you got at St. John 6:44. Consider it. Matter of fact, before, and while he get me that, jump over and get me the 3rd chapter of the book of Romans at verse 1. Romans 3 and 1. Hold that for me, Brandon. While you hold me Romans chapter 10 about verse 3. This is St. John chapter 6 at verse 44. See, the lady left. She didn't realize they'd come to deliver. Wearing pants, natural. Why you wear some natural lipstick? Anytime somebody say you some natural lipstick, you are an idiot. Why I'm trying to buy something just like my lips? I already have just like my lips. Why would I buy just like my lips? That just show you just a plumb done idiot. But people don't know no better. People make a fool out you. Listen, buy double the same thing you got. Crazy. Listen.
No man can come to me
except
the Father which hath sent me draw him.
And I'll do what?
Will raise him up at the last day.
Tell him what's written.
It is written in the prophets.
And they shall do what?
Be all taught of God.
Every man.
Therefore that hath heard.
And hath learned.
Of the Father.
Cometh unto who?
Me.
So this is why we look at Paul saying his heart and desire to pray to the Most High Yah was that they might be saved. He said, I bear them record. They got a zeal. It's just not according to knowledge. So what we find Yeshua coming along to quote, which Isaiah came along to tell us about first, that it was written, all your children shall be taught of me. So now Paul recognized something when he came down to Israel. He said, they got a zeal, but it's just not according to knowledge. Because they being ignorant of God's righteousness. When we start looking at God's righteousness, we're going to look at the root word, which is going to take us to God right. The Son is right. It's right to have the Son now. We know that because of Genesis. Genesis 1 right quick. Genesis 1 and 3. Other brother got me Romans chapter 3 at verse 3. Still hold me Romans chapter 10 and probably about verse 2 or so. Listen to the book.
And God said, let there be light.
And what happened?
And there was light.
And what happened?
And God saw the light.
And what happened?
That it was good.
See, they were ignorant of God's right. The sun. We see the sun and then we see right. What name will you use for that? Who? Benjamin, son of my right hand. They being ignorant of God's righteousness or God's right. That's the root word of righteousness. You just got a suffix on the end of their throat, people. It's just God's right. When God made the light, God said it was good. So what he made concerning the sun, God said it was good, but they were ignorant of it, which means they didn't know. Didn't mean they were stupid, meaning knowing and just avoiding. They just were ignorant of God's righteousness. And when God made the sun, God said it was good. Come on back to what you got at the 3rd chapter of the book of Romans. And hold me, run. That means you got to jump over and give me the 10th chapter of the book of Romans. The other reader, give me 10 and about 2. Hold that for me. Wonderful Savior. Isn't that right? This is Romans 3 and 1. Listen.
What advantage then hath the Jew?
What advantage then hath the Jew?
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
Listen.
Much every way.
Much in every way. For what reason, Paul?
Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
So we look at that. So we look at the oracle. They were given the living law, yet they missed it. So you can have the law and still be blind. You can have the law and still not find the right way. When Paul started to tell us something else, he continued to read. When you look at Paul saying his heart desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. You're a Jew, you're still Israel. You're still Israel. So now you start looking at him talking about Israel. He noticed something with Israel. They ignorant of God's right. They ignorant concerning God's son. And what wound up happening at that point, they gone about to establish their own righteousness. We find Yeshua making a statement about them establishing their own righteousness. Which brother know when? Huh? On what? Exactly right. 7th chapter of the book of Mark. Pick it up for me. This is Mark chapter 7, verse 1. Listen to the book. I'm watching my watch here, so I don't want to make sure I kind of be conscious of my time. I love what I do. This is the 7th chapter of the book of Mark at verse 1. Listen.
Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes.
Listen what happened.
Which came from Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled.
What is that?
That is to say, with unwashed hands.
What happened, son?
They found fault.
They found fault. And what happened?
For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash
they
their
do
hands
what?
Off, eat not.
Except they wash their hand off, they eat not. Listen.
Holding the tradition of the elders.
Holding tradition of the elders.
And when they came from the market, except they wash, they eat not.
Come on.
And many other things there be
like what?
Which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables.
Listen. Come on.
Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders?
Listen.
But eat bread with unwashed hands.
Come on.
He answered and said unto them, well hath Esaias prophesied of you hypocrites.
Listen.
As it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips.
And do what?
But their heart is far from me.
Doing what?
Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Listen.
For laying aside the commandment of God,
yeah.
Ye hold the tradition of men.
As what?
The washing of pots and cups.
Uh-huh.
And many other such like things ye do.
Yeah.
And he said unto them, full well you reject the commandment of God.
For what reason?
That ye may keep your own tradition.
See, that's what we start looking at. See, if you don't be careful, that's why it was important that God come and give us a teacher. Jeremiah 3 and 16 told us he was going to give us a pastor according to his heart that was going to feed us with knowledge and what?
Understand.
And we already had it. Wasn't been a need to give it to us. Because he looked at something. You can get the law. If you're not careful, you ain't got a skilled teacher. You can get the law and you can establish your own righteousness. And they looked down. They said the elder, they had started doing a practice and they made it a ritual. Ritual is just a continual practice. Sometimes people hear ritual, they'll make it just associated with witchcraft. But ritual is just a continuing thing, just like coming on the Sabbath is kind of a ritual for going into the synagogue on the Sabbath. Those are rituals that we do, somewhat like religious. So what started happening after a while, they started forming some behaviors from this. When we don't wash, we don't eat. That's going to be what we're going to do. Everybody follows, except you wash, you eat not. In keeping their own traditions, they wound up getting away from what God had commanded. He come down and started to let them know what the law told them. See, that's a good practice. I try to instill the same thing, but in doing that, it's nothing wrong as long as you still keeping yourself according to the teachings of the Most High God. Because we know if we follow the law lawfully, it should get us to Christ. When Paul started to tell us in this 10th chapter of the book of Romans, pick me up again at 10 and 2. Romans chapter 10 and 2. Listen.
For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge.
So you're going to tell me they didn't have a zeal of God? They were washing. Baptism. The 9th chapter of the book of, the 9th chapter, 10th chapter of the book of Hebrews tells us about that. How the law had a shadow of good things to come and not the very image. They had all kind of diverse washings. Baptism, that's all that was a symbolism of baptisms. When the Most High God came down to speak, that's what we had to do. We had to wash ourselves. So when they were going washing themselves, not eating, this was a practice we've taken on and we formed. There's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes you can establish something and it can take you away from the commandments of God. That's what we got to be careful about. You can start out with a good purpose, like people to say, I know some people, they started to tell you about some old rotten preachers. They started out good. They never start out good. They go the wrong way. Your heart ain't set right. You ain't going to stay right. Don't let these folk make a fool out of you. That's why when we go here, folk, we got to make sure we're following accordingly. We got to make sure we find the sun. We don't find the sun, we're still in darkness. That's the same thing we find in creation when he established it. He left the creation when he established it. He left it in darkness until the light came. Y'all hear me? Mm-hmm. And when the light came, what happened to the world?
Didn't comprehend.
The world knew it not. Isn't that right? He established us and set us here. We came in darkness in the sin because we didn't know the sun. How many were born knowing the sun? So we came into darkness until we were illuminated. This information came. We never knew we were sinners. To the fact, in-depth sinners that we know now. We thought we were just sinners. You just walk down, confess your sin, get baptized, and say sin. That's the kind of sinner. And then you be good. And you can smoke next week. And go back to committing adultery. As long as you stay clean for a couple weeks, then you tell your friend, somebody said, I used to be saved one time. Because we didn't know. Till the sun come, we didn't know. He told us himself in the 15th chapter of the book of St. John, if I had not come and spoken to them, but now, who was going to come along and say it was darkness and light had never come? In the book of Genesis, somebody came on the scene. God said, this darkness, according to what? Had never seen no light. So he came down to tell us about the sin. He had to come along and show us right. See, they being ignorant of God's right, and you can go about and establish your own righteousness. And in doing that, guess what you hadn't done? Have not submitted yourself, just like the Son. Isn't that right? He gave us a commandment. Pick me up in the 9th chapter of the book of Luke. And while you give me the 9th chapter of the book of Luke and pick up probably about verse 34, before you get me that, jump on, give me St. John chapter 5 and probably about verse 5 and probably like 20. We'll try to make it work. It don't make me no difference which one you shoot first. It's all the same word. Ain't that right? Ain't that what you say? Is that what you say? It's all the same word. That's what brought me on nothing but the word. Ain't that right? Listen to the book.
St. John 5 and 20.
Listen.
For the Father loveth the Son.
And what happened, son?
And sheweth him all things that himself doeth.
Listen.
And he will shew him greater works than these.
Why?
That ye may marvel.
Why?
For as the Father raiseth up the dead.
What happened,
and
son?
quickeneth them.
Yeah.
Even so the Son quickeneth whom he will.
Listen.
For the Father judgeth no man.
But did what?
But hath committed all judgment unto the Son.
Listen.
That all men should honor the Son.
Just like what?
Even as they honor the Father.
Y'all see that? Come on.
He that honoreth not the Son,
the what?
Honoreth not the Father which hath sent him.
Listen.
Verily, verily, I say unto you,
yeah.
He that heareth my word, and believeth on him that sent me, hath everlasting life.
You hold what you got. Come on, jump on here in the 9th chapter of the book of Luke. Luke chapter 9, about verse 32. I think you heard Brandon a little loud. It started kind of reverbing. Listen to the book.
But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep.
Yeah.
And when they were awake, they saw his glory, and the two men that stood with him.
Yeah.
And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said unto Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here.
Listen.
And let us make 3 tabernacles.
And what happened, son?
One for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias.
Listen.
Not knowing what he said.
Listen.
While he thus spake, there came a cloud, and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud.
Yeah.
And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying,
do what?
This is my beloved Son.
This is what?
My beloved Son.
This is what?
My beloved Son.
What he want him to do?
Hear him.
He told you to do like you got to honor him just like you honor the Father. He told you the Father loved the Son. He wanted all men to honor the Son just like he did the Father. But see, a lot of times, even our brethren, our Hebrew brother and sister, they'll go around here and they'll exempt the Son and go straight to the Father. You're not going to be saved. That's just like you don't come into the world. You're going to have to acknowledge the light. And now you won't come under God. You got to acknowledge the Lord. Ain't that right? Hold you got right quick. Pick me the 11th chapter of the book of St. John. He still got me the 10th chapter of the book of Romans, probably about verse 3, verse 4. It's all the same word. I ain't going to tell y'all what y'all didn't say, but I said for kinfolk. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. What I said? St. John chapter what? I'm talking about the one beside St. John. Hebrews chapter 11.
Kinfolk.
Where the Alba? Give me about verse 6. Listen to the book.
But without faith.
But without what?
Faith.
What is faith, brother? Brandon, this really sound bad. He said substance. He let DJ go. Then he said things at the end. Exactly. That's how you get by. But the thing we start looking at, he's telling you about faith, which is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen, whereby the elders obtain a good report. So now we start to look at, he letting you know, but without faith. The only reason we look at faith, we'll count a man as the father of faith. Who is? Abram. That's right. Abram, by short, is father of many nations. Isn't that right? When you find Abraham, you find exalted father. Isn't that right? Even when you find with Yeshua in the 2nd chapter of the book of Philippians, what did it tell us about it? Philippians 2 and try. Go ahead and try, Anthony. You good? Right in my face. He told me, I'm going to find it. No, you're not. You put your kashi up. Moses, you good back down? You looking. I know it. Philippians 2 and 9. I'm telling you, what does it say, brother? Hold on. All Nisha what? You know what's bad about this joke? He was reading it and looked up real fast. He kept like, wherefore God, all. That's right. God had also highly and did what? What did he do, Miko? That's bad. Highly exalted him. Which going to take us back to what name? Abraham. Abraham means exalted father. That's what the name Abraham means, exalted. When we find Abram, it means father of many nations. That's why when we find this 4th chapter of the book of Galatians, it told you whereby the Spirit cried, Abba. Who's that? Albert? Who is Albert? That is that Albert. That Sanford. He got that Sanford slur on now. Isn't that right? It was short for like Abraham. Isn't that right? So we find father of many nations. That's why the Spirit would cry Abba, short for Abraham, for Abram. I got that fat Sanford tongue working tonight. No offense, Sister Mike. But anyway, that's why we'll find out a cry to the Father. We find exalted Father. So when we find Yeshua, something as simple as that seems simple, wherefore God had highly exalted him. So we find Abraham. Y'all got it? Exalted him and given him a name which is above. For us, we call him the name Abraham as well. We learn that premise from him. When we pray, what we do. That's what, whenever the prophet, they cried, they brought up the God of who? That's right. Isaac and Jacob. They went right back to the fathers. Isn't that right? And when Yeshua, even when Paul started to talk to Agrippa in the 26th chapter, and Festus cried out when he started talking with them, he even talked about how he would instantly serve the same doctrine as our fathers were. He was instant in it. This is the same thing he said the Father did. Ain't that right? Saying none of the thing than what the prophet said concerning the Son. And that's what we're sitting down and we're looking at today concerning the Son. Isn't that right? Listen to the book.
But without faith, it is impossible to please him.
Y'all hear that? Without faith, it's impossible to please him. Listen why.
For he that cometh to God
must
believe that he is.
And that he is a what?
Rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Now, if you hear that, that sounds like you singular coming straight to God, but that's impossible. That's impossible. That's impossible. You talking about you, this is a conversation sound like if I'm God, hypothetically, and you coming straight to me, that's impossible. Yeshua told us no man come through the Father but by me. The Son was constructed concerning faith. That's why he made the Son. Isn't that right? So you got to believe it. In order to get to the Father, you got to come through by the Son. He told you no man come to the Father but by me. You'd be a fool to think you can come on your own. Isn't that right? That's why he came along and know it was written in the prophet that we all had to be taught of God. Look at the difference it made once we learned about the Son in the book. When we learned about the Son, it just tied us more into the Father. Ain't that right? That gave us the hope to get to the Father. But you can't come to the Father by yourself. We got brethren and sisters, our own brothers and sisters. They sit around thinking they can get to the man without the Son. That's just ignorant. You got to have light. He told us to walk while you had to what? Got to walk when the light there. He even said he got to work while it's what? What's going to happen in the night?
No man.
You can't work in no night. Isn't that right? Even when Paul came along the book of Philippians, what he told her they that do? They that walk in the night. But I mean, Buster did so well though. He said they walk in the night. He said sleep. That's if they hate their brother. We start. Wow, if I had filed off for every wrong answer he done gave me. but the thing you start to consider, he talked about they being drunk and they that sleep in the night. Ain't that right? He said, but you're of the. So we got to walk as children of the day. We got to walk as children of the light. Right? The literal sons of God. Y'all all right? Amen. So now we look at how it's important for us to go back. When we go back and we look at the law, we only go back to look at the law to see how it's constructed and how it comes to formulate to show us the Son. Ain't that right? Even when the apostles came along, they told him to do show him something. What was it, brother? And what did happen? It sufficeth us. He told her, have I been so long time with you, have you not known me? He that have seen me. Now how am I come through the Father? I hadn't seen the Son. That makes absolutely no sense to get to the Father without going through the Son. And going for us through the Son is to follow the direct behavior of the Son. When the Father made the Son and the Son illuminated, the Father said it was good. So you're doing everything bad. How you going to see the Father? You got to come along and emulate the Son. You got to do good. That's the only way we're going to see the Father come through by him. We got to emulate the same behavior. We learn from Genesis, every tree, what does it have? It's seed. And where is seed at? In itself. And that seed will come out and emulate the tree or the bush that it came from. Well, we saying we come out from the Father, which means we have to emulate, have some of the same ingredients, some of the same behavior as did the tree we stem from, right? That's why he came along and told us about him. He was the true vine. My Father is the who? Every branch in me that beareth not fruit. Every branch that bringeth forth fruit, what he do? Purge it. How you purge it? He prune it. Curtis, you said die? Fire. Good, yeah. Curtis see a tree doing good. Burn it up. But, I mean, that's one hour for purification. But what we learn is what the Father does. Sometimes we have to be purged. Whether you for purge for us will be pruning. Just like you learn being farmers and being husbandmen by turn, we just use farmers. Somebody that grow, you use husbandmen because you're going to refer back to the man because the man plants seed. The husbandman goes out and he sows seed. He said that was a man that sowed. So now you see why he used husbandman, right? He referred to that as a male, as a masculine and not a feminine. Y'all got me? Only makes sense when you sat down to look at. So then we had to learn behavior of a couple of things that we were going to be husbandmen. What we were going to have to learn? Time and season. So of the time and you have no need for yourselves, you know good and done well, you know the man coming. Isn't that right? You know when you plant seed in the right season, you know good and well the harvest coming. You know perfectly well it's coming. Isn't that right? Just like when a man sows seed, he going to sit around and wait. Eventually he'll get up one day and he'll look up. What happened? It done sprung up from the ground. Not while he's sitting there necessarily looking for it. He has an expectation. Who know about farming, ever did farming? For the mothers, a couple of y'all. How many of y'all stayed out there on the ground, stayed there around the clock and slept right there in front of where you put the seed to see it come up? You had expectations of it, except for Justin. He said he slept right there and watched it. So then you look at, you had an expectation, right? That expectation will be equivalent to a hope. You know if you planted, did well, if the rains came and the sunshine, you should bring forth something. In due time, you look up one day, what happened? You saw the seed? Hey, just shook your head. That man said you look up a couple of days, you see the seed. At that point, you know you chose poorly. Right? Like the Indiana Jones in there. Larry Cruz said, you chose poorly. If you see the seed in a couple of days, you just need to go back to sleep, take your rest. So what we learn, if we properly plan it, if you look, you'll see the fulfilling of your expectation. You'll see a blade. First the blade. What else? Then the ear. then the full corner of the ear. You feeling good about that answer you just gave Ryan? He said feeling good. Pick me up in the book of Mark chapter 4. How many of y'all were Ryan? He said first the ear, then the wax, then it run down the cheek. Ryan, we got to work on you. This is the book of Mark chapter 4. Pick me up at probably about verse 26. Let me see what that say. Make it 24. It's all the same word, ain't it? Mark chapter 4. I probably won't lower than that. Make it 27. Let me see what that say. Listen.
And should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should spring and grow
Well,
up.
back me up to 24. This sounds similar to what I was just talking about. Listen.
And he said unto them, take heed what ye hear.
Take heed what you hear. Listen why.
With what measure ye meet,
What happened?
it shall be measured to you.
Uh-huh.
And unto you that hear shall more be given.
Y'all hear that? The you that hear, more going to be given. And that's been, and we saw that. The more application we take on, the more conforming we do to the word, he said more be given to us. A lot of times people say, I want more, I like more, I want more information. Then he looking at how well you done with application. Listen.
For he that hath, to him shall be given.
And what else going to happen?
And he that hath not,
What's going to happen?
from him shall be taken even that which he hath.
Listen.
And he said, so is the kingdom of God,
Listen.
as if a man should cast seed into the ground.
Y'all see that? That's why we look at husbandmen. Well, a husband would cast seed into the woman. She would be equivalent to the earth because the earth bear. The earth don't begot. The earth bear. That's a feminine. The man would be the masculine, the husbandman, because he was so seed. Make sense? Listen.
And should sleep and rise night and day.
Listen.
And the seed should spring and grow up.
You see that? Then he'll see the seed when he get up eventually. He said then what's going to happen?
And the seed should spring and grow up.
And the seed should spring and grow up, which means it's got to do what in order for that to happen, brother? So that means you won't see the seed. It has to die. If it don't die, what happens? Which means it won't become productive. When it said abide alone, Haywood and Boston, y'all will not be able to sit together again. It's just too much trouble, them two together. But I'm messing with them. But that's the thing we sat down and consider. If it don't die, it'll abide alone. Just like when a person dies, who in their casket with you? Because you ain't in no shape to give up. You're not a shape to spring to give out any life until you. There's some seeds are what we call dead seeds, unproductive. Anybody know about it? Just like some fruits you get up, well, vegetables, some black-eyed peas. They don't know about. Young people don't know. They get a bag, they pour in there and cook all of them. They don't know about put the water, stir them up, see which one float. You get them out of those bad peas. Old people believe they'll kill you if you eat them, right? These folks, they'd have been dead. It ain't true. I know all my them jokers throw them in. They like, they're the first one you eat, because he said first the dead in Christ gonna ride first. The first of them black-eyed peas that rise up, you get them out of. Don't use that. Do not use no dead in Christ go ride first and eat them peas. You're gonna be real sick. So what you do, so you can find sometimes even when things come back to produce, it wind up being really unfruitful after. So that's why we look at in our transformation and when we're coming into what we're getting, a lot of people kind of taper off. They look at a little transformation coming, they kind of taper off, and after that they become unproductive. They're not able to be consumed. Who used that parable for us? Who used something similar there? They're not able to be consumed. Then he's got the answer. Well, tell them again who it was. One of the prophets. That's the answer I was looking for. Amos. Now, don't try to use Beasley answer. Beasley. Lanita, tell him, lose my number for 10 minutes. What you going to say, Justin? Ezekiel? I'm going to go ahead and take Jeremiah. He showed in the book of Jeremiah, you don't have to go get, I think about the 25th, 26th chapter. He asked him what saw him. He saw a basket of figs. He saw 2 baskets. One figs were good, and the other one was so naughty. It said naughty. They were so rotten, he said they couldn't even be consumed. So you can see what something had transferred over to become fruit, but yet it couldn't be consumed. See, our hope is not just to be transformed and then be stuck. We look to transform and then become something that the Most High God can take in. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what happens sometimes when you taper off with the law. The law, the Bible said having some, what was it again? Or what? But not. He's right on that. You thought I set him up? He was at the judge. He done busted his own son. No, you were right. No, that's it. A shadow. You see what I'm saying? He's exactly right. See, it can have a shadow, but you can miss it because you ain't looking at the very image. So you can look at those. Listen, there are a lot of people that take on some form of conforming, just like taking on the Sabbath day, the feast day, but they don't actually change to the festive behavior. Isn't that right? In the book of Hebrews, it talk about to the general assembly of the firstborn. That's talking about the festive gathering. This is not talking about tent hut. No, that's some other junk. That general assembly of the firstborn, there's going to be a festive gathering of us. But there's some of our people that's not going to make it. So what y'all don't want to do is sit in here and you start tapering off and not actually being transformed by renewing of your minds. You see what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of people do. They hear parts of the law, and as far as they go. You know how many people die in the Sabbath? You know how many people die in festive days? How many people die in women not wearing pants and men not put on dress, but they don't actually take on the festive behavior? That should be an extra change. That's a celebration. We celebrate the gathering of the Spirit. That's what we actually here for, to get the Spirit. You even look at with the fruit. The fruit, he talking about how the husband waited for the what? The precious fruit. He can't get it until the first and the latter rain. For us, we look at the Spirit coming on the same form. We are his fruit. We look for the Spirit to come in, just like when they sat there and it fell upon every one of them. If you sit in that field, it started raining him. That Spirit, the rain going to fall on everybody in here. Right? So we look at that same conforming. Well, that's what we look to do. But a lot of times some people go and they grow and tape off. Then you get worms in you. Then you tear up people's stomach. You ain't worth eating, consuming. Who going to gather in? You can see the worms in some of y'all. You ain't going to do no good. Sometimes you can get some of them, you can get some and cut it and cut the little bad spot out of it. Then sometimes you can see them rotting all the way through. You have to throw in the trash. They don't know about that, do they, Uncle Ted? I remember that, man, you go get something, you throw it away, you say you cut that out and see if you see that clean white part, you say, I can still eat it. You see that thing hold on through there, you always throw it. See the worm done went through it, throw it away. You see what I'm saying? It wound up transforming to a point, but it wound up conforming. It didn't transform completely over. And that's what happened to a lot of us. You got to get past just the Sabbath. You got to get past just coming here on Wednesday. It's got to be a transformation of your behavior and the way you think. And a lot of y'all don't do it. Some of y'all stuck. Some of the stuff y'all do, you ain't going to never grow. You ain't going to never get the way you got to go because you said and you tapered off. You feel like you going as far as you can go. As long as you make 3 times here a week, as long as you make a couple of appointments, you feel like that's enough. But you hadn't changed in your heart. You hadn't changed in the way you think toward serving God. You hadn't seen the importance of the Son. Isn't that right? By him. Paul said in Christ we have our being. He said in Christ we move. That's how we breathe. And a lot of y'all hadn't considered. You think it's all been by you. I had to sing a song years ago, everybody moving by the power of God. Everybody moving by the power of God. We got to consider these things, folks. We don't want to be like this. Same thing we read in the 10th chapter of the book of Romans can be about us. His heart desire that we might be saved. He bears record. We got a zeal, but ain't according to no knowledge. Because we can sit here and we can be ignorant of God's right and going about to establish our own right and have not submitted ourselves to the righteousness of God. For he told us for the end of the law is Christ, which means now if we follow the law right, we should have already got there. If people still follow, ain't got to Christ yet. Well, we'll say the Mashiach. We only use Christ because they got it in the book now. There's a lot of people. It's nowhere in the world. You just keep. At some point, you should find the Son. We've gone one time and got the Son. What I love about the Son, he told us to go back and do something in Revelation. What was it? What we wanted him to do? We had to go do our first work. We had to go back and be baptized. We had to go back and confess. Then when people said, that don't make sense because you're an idiot. The man told you to go back and do your first works over. He said, I hadn't found your works perfect. Go back and do them over. A lot of times, some of y'all didn't see the importance of that. That's what Revelation told. Who going to do it? So go back and you go back and do your first work. You start learning back. Now we go back. Now they go back and find the Son. Look how many years we read and studied. Didn't even pick this man up. All we were trying to do is find the Bible. They have a little star there that connect. You said, look at this. Nigga, you ain't found nothing. Them sinners pick that up. It's so evident. They can't go through and find this man in every behavior, every aspect, and every avenue of these people that came through. Seeing all these people came along, they were a reflection of him. What Revelation told us for years for the spirit of prophecy is this man's testimony. These folks testified. They said, that's my testimony. That's why he said, search the scripture. You think you got eternal life? They talking about me. And all Israel going to be saved. Who was he talking about? That's him. He going to be saved. That's why we got to get in him.
That's right.
Isn't that right? All right. Y'all do what y'all want to. We got to get in him. Israel going to be saved. Man untestified. Israel going to be delivered. Israel looked like he was going to perish, didn't he? That man, he said, God had looked like he had forsaken. That's because that's the same thing we cried out. That was his testimony concerning him on the cross. Our forefather went, they thought the man had forsaken us. Yeah, went on, we testified the man had forsaken us. Isn't that right? They said how they testified. There was a dried up, look, there was like a dried up branch. All right. Pick me up if you would. Let's sit at the 58th chapter of the book of Isaiah. 58 and 1 come to mind. Man, I got to get y'all out of him. I love this thing, man. I love this thing, man. It's the word. It's the word. These people ain't getting that. They're killing time with these people. These people dying and going to hell. Don't even see it. This is the 58th chapter of the book of Isaiah, verse 1. Listen to the book.
Cry aloud.
Spell what?
Not.
Lift up your what?
Thy voice like a trumpet.
And show the people what?
Their transgression.
And the house of who?
Jacob, their sin.
They're going to be his children. The house of Jacob, his household. They're going to show their people, show their children their sin. Listen.
Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways.
As a what?
Nation that did righteousness.
Listen.
And forsook not the ordinance of their God.
That's what we do. Who else talked about something similar to that? Them seeking him. Well, that'd be something similar. You won't probably catch it, Jeff Rob, if you think about it. Who? What he said? Well, you're pretty sharp. He exactly right. Ezekiel said they come to me as my people. They hear my word, he said, but they do them not. That's what they were doing. They would have came. Guess why? They would have came because of the law. Why would they come to God except by the law? They'd have came up there. They'd have came to Ezekiel. He told Ezekiel, these people come out, son of man, they still talk about you. What was Ezekiel's position? What kind of priest? He was a high priest. What were the priests supposed to do? And what was supposed to happen? At his mouth. That's why he would have told Ezekiel that. He said, they come unto you as my people. They hear your words, but they do it made sense. These people don't know why they would sit there and told them that. That's why it was so important for us to know the law. Why would they be coming to Ezekiel to hear his word? Because Ezekiel was a priest. And the priest's lips should keep knowledge. And the people should hear the law at his mouth. For what reason, brother? He was the messenger of God. So they knew the law enough to come to him. He said they hear your words, but they do them not. So we can find the same thing when Paul tells us about his heart desire to pray to God for Israel. What they might be saying, I bet them regularly have a zeal of God, but not according to. For they being ignorant of God's right and gone about to establish their own righteousness and have not submitted themselves to the right of God. For Christ is the end of the law to them that believe. Which means receiving the end of our faith, Peter told us. What is it, brother? That's it for us. If we follow this thing right, you ought to be saved.
That's right.
He says the end of the law. That's salvation. If you follow the law right, you ought to get salvation. For those that fake, for those that fade along the way, those that don't know what to do, sitting in the edge of despair, follow this thing right. According to what he said, Christ the end of the law to them that believe. If you don't believe, I wouldn't even follow the law. It's of no value. The law is of no value if you're not going to follow according to faith. If you're not going to follow according to faith and you're looking to get the salvation of your soul and you're just going to be in finding the Son at the end of it, it's just a waste of time. Just honestly, a lot of y'all, that's why you're not changing. You sit here and you kind of stuck in limbo because the truth of it, like the song, maybe you stuck at a crossroad. A lot of y'all at a crossroad, if it ain't relationships, is your finance, or trying to get or have something that's just not good for you. And before you know it, you'll be off the path. You'll be off the path. Just like our forefathers. You'll have something that'll be strong. You got a lot of people that got some stuff that they religiously hold to, and they ain't letting that go for nobody. And you go right to hell with it. Just like they worry about washing their hands. They had no problem about cussing their mom and them out, though. No, they said that they had a gift. But if you ain't wash them hands, I already know you're going to hell. Once I seen you pop that grape in your mouth and you ain't wash your hand and you put that, I already knew you weren't saved. I know it wasn't nowhere in the world go. I already knew that you had tasted and fell away. It was impossible to renew you again because you weren't following according to the tradition of the elders. But you ain't consider the righteousness of the law. When you follow this thing right, that's how we know we're following it right. When you can see the sun. If you can't see the sun, you better go back and check what you're doing. That's why I think like he just tell her, go back and do your first works over. Go back. You got to come back. You got to consider. Even he told, Jeremiah told you to stand you in the ways and do what? You got to stop what you're doing and consider. Ask for the what? Now, if I'm going to ask for the old path, where is the good? What am I going to have to do? I'm going to go back. I'm going to ask for the old path. Apparently, I got past it. I got to go back. Get on the right path. I'm standing where I'm looking. Look at where you at and look at what's been written, what's been prescribed. You need to turn around and go back. That's the way you're going to get right. A lot of them got the path. Under the truth. A lot of y'all done got the path. Y'all done sat here long enough. You ain't where you need to be. And you ain't where you need to be because you got too much other stuff going on. Now you got to get your heart and mind set up on why you're here. You say, let me tell you what, this book set up here to confuse more people than it is to save them. I'm trying to tell you the truth now. The preaching of the cross and them that perish, this is some straight foolishness tonight. There's some people, you ask them, this some, I'm not going to say listen to foolishness. And you know why it's foolishness? Because they perish. But to us that believe, it's the power of God. That's why we here. It's the power of God because it pleased God. To use the foolishness of preaching the gospel to save them that believe. That's why I'm here. God saved me with this. I ain't going nowhere. God saved me with this. It's just food to somebody that perish. It don't bother me when people say, that food is just better. You perish. I already know you're going to perish. Paul already told me this, behold you despiser, and you wonder, and you're going to perish. Because he said, I'm working at work, and your days of work, you ain't going to know why I believe, though. You think about Ezekiel. They tell me, man, none of these people ain't did that. He do some of the crazy stuff. Ezekiel was butt naked. What you think? Who'd have looked at, if butt naked man, who'd have looked at him and said, that's a prophet of God, trying to tell them how we going to walk out of him? You thought he was just some old nasty freak. A lot of stuff. These people don't understand how God works. But the book told us in Psalm 18 about 37, ask for God.
His way is perfect.
That's why we here. Ain't that right? Read what God told him. When Yeshua could have came along and told them people, I hadn't found your works perfect. It was simply because you hadn't followed his way. Huh? That's what Isaiah tried to tell us in Isaiah 2 and 2. It's going to come to pass that the mountain of the Lord's house going to be established in the well. And going to be exalted well. All nations going to do what? That's a steady movement. Flow up. Do you not know that defy gravity? When you seen water flowing up? Man, that's a scientific miracle. Gravity show water going down. Now you talking about flowing up. That's showing you that's a steady move going up. Many people say, come ye. Let us go up to the mountain of the Lord house, to the house of the God of who? And he will do what? Of his what? And we will walk where? Trying to tell y'all, man, you got to come up. When John in Revelation, he saw what he told John he had to do.
Come on, man.
Come on up higher. Man, going to be a steady flow. Y'all going to mess around. A lot of y'all, you don't consider you ain't going up, you going down. You ain't consider you ain't adding, you depleting. All the mathematical equation you using ain't adding up for salvation. Only thing you should be depleting and getting less of is sin. They come down in God. You ought to be increasing. The book told you to grow in what?
Grace.
And
the knowledge of our
so you sitting here, y'all sleep your days and all y'all got too much going on. You lack knowledge. Now you sit around, you worthy of death. Because you lacking understanding. You sit here, folks, you can't afford to be sleeping. Y'all got so many different ideologies. Y'all got so many different dogmas going on and stuff going on. It ain't lined up to what we teaching. I'm being honest with a lot of stuff. You'll get some of y'all to pull off, and some of y'all stuff they're just something I just be getting, something I don't never tell no brother to be bouncing nothing off each other. I'll bounce a rock off your head. Be letting no brother bounce nothing off you. Brother be testing you, see how stupid you is. But don't be bouncing that stuff off me you got. So go and shoot up there, let pass one of the mills here. Be like, hi now. See, I ain't trying to teach. That's all they trying to pull you out. Be like, I don't want your side teacher. You can't save me no way. Nobody gonna say you gonna mess around and you can go to hell. I'll be honest, I'll say, you a preacher? Now, I ain't no preacher. You already know the preacher you can't hear without a preacher. Why you even entertain it? And the preacher can't preach. Ask who sent you. All right, I be helping y'all. Let me tell you something. A lot of stuff people be doing. Listen, why can't they? You know don't bounce nothing off me. I bounce a nigga on his head. Man, I bounce nothing off me. I ain't play that stuff. I want the stuff people do. They be bouncing that stuff. They be saying you be weak. Supposed to you be weak. They'll be shooting that stuff card while you had your own stuff set up. The man just told you you been going by the step of your own righteousness. According to the 8th chapter of the book of Hebrews, that stuff ain't supposed to be happening anyway. He tell you, no brother gonna be sitting around there, every man trying to teach his neighbor. Nigga, you ain't gonna teach me. I ain't gonna go get no book now. Pick me up at the 8th chapter of the book of Hebrews, 8 by 10. Make it 8 and 8. How many times we been over here?
3.
Exactly. This man a holler. Family reunion, fifth fry, crane of the grid. You don't think too much going on. He say home. He say yeah, thirst and hunger out of righteousness shall be filled. That Bible. It's a more President home. I'm hungry too. I done heard your president. We gonna get you. She couldn't make it tonight, y'all. Gavin was a little ill. Hope he feel better. She was one of the obedient sheep. She said, according to your direct order request, she couldn't make it tonight. He was not feeling, a little sniffing. I also, while I'm talking, y'all know that I had the secretary send out an email. You know, I give him stuff, then it kind of ad lib. And that thing got, I said all that? That thing had me going deep. I said, that's what I said. Woo, punctuate. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I like. Andre, when I say, he said, that's exactly what I said. But y'all make sure y'all watching this stuff. They got a disease going right here, some kind of sickness going right here. And these little kids being affected. And it hit 11 states, and Georgia in the number. Start off like a little minor cold, and after that, they see kids wind up in intensive care. Some of these kids be too darn sickly. Y'all better make sure y'all get on there. I tell you, get that colloidal silver. They got that get black seed oil. Don't wait on these people. You know anyway, we ain't got all these vaccinations. We can't be with these folks. These folks got these bad. We done caught the doing polio for these niggas out here. And one of them got it. Ain't that right? I don't trust all these folks done ate roaches. I'm being honest. Let me tell you something. We good with one another. We get around them folks don't have all these vaccinations. Our kids ain't have they kids make our kids sick. What you think how they came to Africa, we mixed with these people? Man, them black, listen, every time because you know it's stuff, let me tell you something. They got diseases, you can go on some other country, those people live well with it. Your behind go over there, die. As soon as you got the plane, you die. Ain't that right? They vaccinated for that stuff. You come and you mix with them, and some stuff they mix with us. You ain't made to mix like that. Just stay on your side of the river. No way you mix it and where you get off and you say, Get this stuff in you and use your hand. Y'all wash your hands thoroughly. These folks be breaking stuff till you keep it. They look clean. No, nobody look that clean, break me off. They ain't seen, just keep that. I don't got to go to the restaurant and pick my stuff, do like that. I'm good. Ain't that right? Hand got old fungi in between. I don't eat from everybody. All right. And if your hand is black on this side, it's on this side, I'm just not hungry. I don't eat from everybody. Got mold all crud in between all of him. He ain't no being no stuff all in him. Listen to the book. This is the 8th chapter of the book of Hebrews at verse 8. Listen.
For finding fault with them.
What happened, son?
He saith.
Y'all hear what God did? Found fault with them. Listen what happened.
He saith, behold, the days come.
So he said found fault with them. What happened? What happened? You gonna do that for real, Ryan? What happened, Ryan? Huh? Now you went back down and looked. What you just looked at, what you found out? Finding fault with them. Because the first covenant allowed it. See how people got the first covenant? He told you the first covenant had been faultless. Wouldn't have been no needs sought for the second one. But he said he found fault with them. What happened after that, Brandon?
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord.
What's going to happen, son?
When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
And what?
And with the house of Judah.
Did you see that? I'm going to combine two. I'm going to make a different one. That first one you had, I'm going to make it non-void. Listen.
Not according to the covenant.
When I did what?
That I made with their fathers.
What day was this?
In the day when I took them by the hand.
When I did what?
In the day that when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt.
See that? So that's a different one. You go back trying to do that covenant. He did this a different one right here. That's a different. Did we find a behavior like that before in the law? It was a different one he made. What was it, Justin? So there. He made another covenant with them in Horeb. It told you besides the first one. So you know what happened, why that's important for us to know? Because as Jews and as Israelites, see, we real strict for the law. You start coming on, that's why it's hard for people to follow Yeshua. Because all this teaching about something different coming up. We ain't used to nothing different. We used to stuff being just like it was before. So now he coming on talking about he going to do, that don't make sense why he going to do something different than he did the first time. But yet we find in the law. That's right. About the 29th chapter of the book. He went to go get the 29th chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. He said he made a covenant with them besides the one he made it at first. So see, we already found a pattern for this. Y'all see why it's important? See, you're just going to take it because the word said it. That's not behavior for Jews. Behavior for Jews, we had to go back to look at behavior where we saw something similar. We just can't take that. Anybody can just grab the book and go say, you know, God had did a third thing too. According to what? We start looking for patterns. Y'all understand that? Just like he told the young men to show themselves something you can follow. So we come along now, Hebrew writer telling us, God done said he going to make another one. The one we got, everybody following that, the one we came out of Egypt. Now all of a sudden you talking about another one. Well, when he made a covenant with them, he made a covenant with them at the first, didn't he? He said, I made this covenant with you and not with who? Your children. He said they had known. He made an agreement with them. So we talked about that before. Why did you take that agreement when he told you that was not yours? You weren't there. He said, not with your children. They had known. Then he came back to make another one in Horeb. He said, besides the one he made at the first. This one I made with you and your children. So that pattern alone set us up to be able to understand this. Y'all see how important it is to know what we're doing? Just be honest. As Jews, if we took this before we went back and took the law, we were wrong. This is right, but it was wrong for us to take it. We didn't see behavior. Look at what it said. Listen, what did he say again, Brandon?
Not according to the covenant.
When I did what?
That
Hold on, back me up a little above that, verse 8. What did he say now?
For finding fault with them.
He
saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant.
A new covenant. We always say he'll make a new one. He'll make another covenant. But knowing the law, it makes sense. We talked about when he told me at the first, he made that covenant with them and not with their children. Peter came along, asked the apostles, said the promise is unto you and to your who? So that part of the law wouldn't go to them. He said, I made this with you, those that were alive and had seen. So if you weren't alive at that time, I was not even talking to you. What you say, Lord, seen, like, shut your mouth. I was not even talking to you. I was talking to them that had known and had seen. He came back later and said he made one with them, with all of them that was alive that day. So it set us up and with their children. So when Peter came along and said, the promise is unto you and to your, only way we can take that because of the second covenant that he made. Because according to the first one he said, it didn't even tell us. Because we weren't alive. We hadn't seen it. So it's not talking to you. I'm trying to tell you, a lot of people think they say you can't be saved. Because you don't know what belongs to you. Stuff you just taking and just running with, weren't even talking to us. We weren't even there. Then he came back. He had to make something that entail that take us in. So now him come along and say the day comes, say, Lord, I'm going to make a new covenant. Listen.
With the house of Israel.
And
with the house of Judah.
It would make sense because we separated. You just say to Judah, then Israel sitting there saying, he's not talking to us. So now that didn't tell Israel, he's pulling everybody back in. I'm going to make a new agreement with Israel and Judah. Because if you look at the first time, they wind up splitting. That's why he's making a conversation bringing back the two. Listen.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers.
And when?
In the day when I took them by the hand.
And did what?
To lead them out of the land of Egypt.
Yeah.
Because they continue not in my covenant.
Listen.
And I regarded them not, saith the Lord.
Yeah.
For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel.
Yes.
After those days.
What are you going to do?
Saith the Lord, I will put my laws into their mind.
And do what?
And write them in their hearts.
Yeah.
And I will be to them a God.
So now we find out the difference. Before, what do we have it written now? Tables of stone. That was the problem. Wrote it on stone, and he would talk to stony people. He said, I got to do something different. He gave it to them, written law, oracle. They were lively oracles if a man took it. They were lively oracles if a man took it. Divinely inspired, but it didn't work. Man said, the thing I do now, I got to write on their heart. They were wrote on stone. He was talking to some stone-headed, pig-headed, hard-headed people. It just didn't work. He said, so I got to do something different. I got to write it upon their heart. That's why he took the Ark of the Covenant away from us. So when he going to come back in remembrance? That's where we kept it at. Hold you guys. See that the 31st chapter of the book of Deuteronomy, verse 24. I got to get y'all out of here. What's going on? Book talking. Book talking. Man, we get understanding. It just makes it better when you know versus you walking out here like these ignorant people. God do so many things. I don't know what God doing. Then get ready and go to hell. Right, man? So all your children going to be taught of me. We can't be going to my God just be doing so much. I don't know what God doing. That's sinner talk. Listen to the book.
And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bare the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law.
And do what?
Put it in the side of the ark.
Y'all hear what God told them to do? Take this book and put it in their heart. Listen what he told them now. Do what now?
Take this book of the law.
And do what?
Put it in the side of the ark.
Listen.
Of the covenant of the Lord your God.
For what reason?
That it may be there for a witness against thee.
So he needed something in our heart. Did that work? Didn't work. Put that, come and be with it. It wasn't keeping us. Listen what happened.
For I know thy rebellion.
I know your rebellion.
And thy stiff neck.
And your stiff neck.
Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day.
Where have we been, Moses?
Ye have been rebellious against the Lord.
And what's going to happen after you die?
And how much more after my death?
That's why you see why all the prophets had to go back and the people always went back to Moses. Had to come back to Moses. Moses already told him. Moses, look at him. Moses, it came to pass. Moses had wrote this book till he was finished. Moses was writing a song. About verse 30, you pick him up. Moses was writing a song. He wrote this thing. He was finished. And he said, stick this in the side of the ark. They ain't put it, told him, put it in the side of the ark. It was going to be there for a witness against us. He said, I already know y'all. Y'all so stiff-necked and rebellious. Y'all been stiff-necked and rebellious. He said, well, I've been with you. Y'all going to get worse when I'm gone. Did Moses lie? Now you can see why he told you now he was going to make a new covenant. Not according to the woman, I took them by the hand when I led your fathers out of wilderness. He said, because I didn't regard them, because they didn't continue in my word. Pick him up and see what he told me in the 8th chapter of the book of Hebrews. I didn't get these people out of here. Come on. Hebrews chapter 8. Where we at, verse 10?
Still at 9.
Where we at? Hebrews chapter 8. What verse is it up at? Verse 10.
The end of verse 10, yes, sir.
Yeah, verse 10. I got Leon told me he want to go to 8 and 1. You seeing something? Oh yeah, yeah. I know it's saying that's the why he just greedy. Go ahead.
And I will be to them a God.
And what's gonna happen?
And they shall be to me a people.
And where we heard that at? Leviticus. Rod, it's by time. You been waiting. How long you been waiting on Leviticus? I know one Bible verse, and he gonna call it. They better wait on this. I'm gonna use it now. That's a good call. What you said? Deuteronomy what? Deuteronomy 26. What he said in Deuteronomy 26? He said you're going to be his people in 26 of Deuteronomy. That's good. That's a good one. Because he said in the 26th chapter of the book of Leviticus too. 26 and 11. Hey, come on. See, there's two witnesses. Come on, son, finish this up.
And they shall not teach every man his neighbor.
Y'all hear this? They shall not do what?
Teach every man his neighbor.
Doing what?
And every man his brother, saying, know the Lord.
Y'all better, I'm going to tell y'all, brother, there's something y'all better pay attention to now. They show you ain't part of the new covenant now. All right. I be trying to tell them. The man said you ain't going to do it. Who you think he talking about? The people who got the new covenant. Y'all be sitting around trying to teach each other. Y'all better be careful with that stuff. The man just said you ain't going to do that now. You're on the old covenant. You don't do what you want to do now. Man said you ain't going to do that stuff now. Apparently they were doing that before. Come on, I'm going to show you something right quick. Let's show you something. This just mean you right. You tell me go show at the preacher. No, it just mean you just talk. I'm trying to do nothing. Just trying to talk. Me, you just talking. Let's something to think on, meditate on. I'm just trying to tell now. The book just said that ain't gonna do that. Now somebody gonna make the man a liar. He said now, let you know. He didn't say preacher wasn't gonna tell you. Saying every man ain't gonna be doing that. Walk around talking about know the Lord. Let me just show you. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. Not according to the new covenant now. I'm trying to help y'all out. A lot of stuff people be doing, they be thinking, preacher try to be, he be thinking, folk can't, brother, we just be doing like he doing. We just bouncing stuff off each other. All right, gonna bounce it in the hell. Pow, and don't get back up. Not supposed to be bouncing nothing. That man told you. Ain't gonna have no everybody teaching their neighbor. A lot of stuff y'all don't be considering now. This Bible. Every time I seen it happen, it's always came back to be a mess and it come back in my lap. It never failed. Some get twisted, somebody trying to say what they didn't mean. That came out wrong, they thought, and it'd be a big mess. Best thing to do what that man said. That way he give you a teacher. He put a teacher, he told you going to be how many fold? And how many shepherds? Everybody be doing all that teaching. You don't have a mess going on. You start that brother bouncing stuff out, shoot stuff, you're going to make a mess. When we do it in here, I can go here and correct it. You get that stuff off, somebody linger off of that doctor, get worse and worse. You can't get that stuff fixed. Then I got a brother, me and you the only two right. The whole synagogue, it never fail. So as y'all start that stuff, y'all get it and put that stuff together, that stuff be jacked. Man, that be it. That be it, man. I'm trying to tell you now. Y'all good? I help these folks. I had a fella come in one time, baptized in Virginia. He read some stuff and put about 9 different things together. I couldn't stop him. He went too far out there. That was it. That was it. I said, Lord have mercy. He couldn't take it. He had done put too much dot and sewed it together, and it stuck like bubble gum on the bottom of a pew. That was it. I couldn't pull him back. He had couldn't reel him in. Anybody been feel you get a big one? Snap the line. He snapped the line on. I couldn't catch him. That's why I tell folks, take your time and just follow. Don't try to get yourself out there too far. God can work better with the congregation than he can with individuals out here doing their own stuff. That's what he looked at. He's letting you know. I'm not working in all these little different groups now. Every man tell me, I know the Lord. Let me show you somebody that I'm trying to help you know. He said, all gonna know me. How, son?
For all shall know me.
From the what?
Least to the greatest.
What happened?
For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness.
Yeah.
And their sins and their iniquities.
Shall I do what?
Will I remember no more.
God ain't gonna mess around and remember your iniquity because you ain't obeying. So you gonna mess around, you start doing stuff that's on that old covenant agreement, you gonna mess around and God's gonna let you keep your sin. Y'all see why it's important we said you gotta follow. People don't realize how important it is. The man just said, I'm gonna be merciful. That's why I'm gonna give you a teacher. You don't sit around and do your own stuff. You gonna mess around and you gonna wind up retaining your sin. Well, he let me throw this out here. Some of y'all probably got hit, huh? Oh, somebody got hit. They don't want to talk about that, Andre, do they? That be the try to help that. I never used to do that stuff. Me and no brother sit around there. I ain't never fooling around nobody like that. I kept to myself. When them folks knew I knew the Bible, they had a guy that gave me a try sermon. I ain't never fool with them people. Man, I wasn't trying to teach them people that. Leave them folks alone. Didn't even have nothing to do with that. I ain't bothered with them. You start that stuff out. I ain't want nobody going saying I taught nothing to do nothing. I just didn't want to be involved in no fight. I ain't getting involved. A lot of stuff y'all do, I ain't never had that kind of foolishness going on. People lie on me about other stuff. I was just good looking. They wasn't lying, but it wasn't that stuff that me going around side teaching. What? I ain't trying to clean up. I always been good looking though. That's been the truth. No, they used to lie on me because I was good looking. I ain't got to clean. That's the truth. When you good looking, folks lie on you. Some of y'all done had. How many of y'all had that experience? Some of y'all put your hand down. I just don't want nobody to. And you used to go out there and you going back to your own way. You started catching up them people lies. Don't you be no liar because they no liar. Isn't that right? But folks will do stuff to you and come at you like that. Some stuff, I ain't never do that stuff, man. My mind been set. Listen, unlike a lot of y'all, my mind was set on living right and I want to be saved. Ain't nothing changed. I just been at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me over anything I got, I possess, family, anything. None of that mean nothing over my soul being saved. Isn't that right? It's knowledge, just like Paul said, knowledge puffeth up, but charity edify. I can go through this book and do all that teaching information, but if I don't have charity, I'm nothing. And the main love gonna start. I got to make sure I love God. That's good, brother. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord.